Okay. So that's the first test of the cardboard piece. I used the cardboard template to cut out the piece of plywood, and then I sanded all the edges and then did the test fit, and surprisingly it was a near perfect fit the very first try. Okay. So I think we have a pretty nice floor. I'll try to figure out exactly where those strips are underneath and attach them to this so I can pull this out as one unit and drop it in, and those strips are already there. So short screws and some glue probably. That is a nice piece. To help that floor piece adhere to these spacers, I'm going to add some of this foam on there. It's a landscape adhesive foam. We'll see how this works out. Okay, well, that really comes out quickly. I'll leave it a little bit away from those ends so I don't end up with it on the carpet. I'm going to go ahead and put screws in these to hold this front end down. I'm just putting this on there because I left the screws too long, so they're stabbing. I'll just use this top spot. Okay, that'll hold that end down. Now, hold the back end down with some little wood pieces. Well, that's holding it pretty well in one plane. I'll let that foam kind of set up before I put the screws in, because then that will help push those pieces of wood down into those crevices. We should get a nice solid flooring out of this. So of course we're not even done, and we've already made changes. We switched the side that the toilet's going to go on. So this is going to be the area behind the shelf, and then this will be where whatever we make for a cooler will be, and we'll have storage under it. And right now I just need to cut a piece that's about 22 inches, and then I'll scribe it to all this wall stuff back there. So at this end it'll be about 21 inches, maybe a little bit less, and 22 for most of it, and then cut around for these corner areas here. So it'll be a nice snug fit once it's in there. So it looks like if I do it at 26 inches, it'll be a pretty decent fit. So 22 by 26. Let's see what we can do with that. So it works out. I have this piece from other projects in the past that is 22 inches exactly. I just need to cut a piece that's 26 inches off this, and then I don't have to do this one. This one's not pre-finished, so I will have to finish it. But even the pre-finished ones, I'll probably, when we get done, give it another coat of finish just to protect it better. But we can use that one. Let's just keep it super simple. Go like this. So this is just simply a rectangle, is a pretty close fit already. I'm going to go ahead and scribe it. I'm just going to use a compass in this case. Set this to the widest spot. So I need to keep it very square to this. Oh, that's actually slightly wider here. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit wider here. So I'm going to do that again, starting at this point. Okay, that gave me a pretty good cutting line. So not a lot has to be cut off, just a little bit here. And if this is flexible, and it is, I probably won't cut anything there, just that, and then this little piece. That's nice. Now I want to make this stout enough for whatever we put here, refrigerator, cooler, whatever, and then this will be storage underneath. And I assume we'll just use bins or something that's small enough to push under and pull out. I'm going to go ahead and add some kind of lip piece under here that'll allow this to be attached to it. Not sure exactly how I'm going to screw that on there, but I'll add some block here along here to hold that. Oh, I might be able to use metal L brackets here. I've got this kind of planned out so I've sanded off the finish on some of these areas so they can glue them. I'll put this up here and then this one, and I beveled the edges so that they will fit the areas nicely. So that'll give me the support for that top plate. And this better. Okay, let's go there. The screws can help hold it. Now get this one glued up. That'll go in there also. So the whole back of this one. Okay. All right. I think that's going to work. Now I need to get this one screwed in to there. Now these are some shorter screws so that I don't end up going all the way through. Okay, that should hold that. Going to use these scrap pieces for the support in the back of this portion of that platform. And so I put biscuit grooves in there, and I'll just biscuit and glue this together, and then I can cut it down to size later. I need to cut off just a little bit off of this and then a little bit off of the length, and I can use these scraps and not have to cut another big piece. I'm not clamping it or anything for this. I'm just stretching this tape real hard, pushing the wood together, putting it at the ends, and that draws it together pretty well. And for what I need, that's plenty good. Do that on both sides. Clean up a little bit of the extra glue. Then I will clamp it to make sure it's flat after I get the pieces together. I can clamp it down to a flat board or something if I need to, because I can just look along it and see if it's in one plane or not. That's pretty darn good. Good enough for what I'm after, which is just a support. Okay, now get this other one in there. All the force on this is going to be going this direction anyway. I need to buy more blue tape. Tomorrow we can kind of clean up the cuts, so I need to shorten it slightly, both directions. All right, so I got this piece all glued up. Now we're going to trim it down. So cut both sides of that just to, well, to even it out. So I just need to barely cut this off and barely touch this because it's the height I think I want, though I think I'm going to go down about 1/4 of an inch so that it leaves the tie down spot in the back of the van available above that piece. Good enough for what I need. See down that? That looks pretty good. So I've got this piece in there. This is the one that we just trimmed for height. And I want it to be low enough so that I can put this up above this in case I want to use it for strapping something down. So right now I can put it above it, but I can't lay it flat. So I'm going to trim that piece down a little bit more so it can be flat across there. Again, I don't know if I need that at all. Maybe it's a bad idea, but that's a good anchor point to attach things because that's bolted inside to the frame. So I think, come on. So if I put that right here, so I don't need it to be a 1/2 inch lower if I want it flat, but I need it to be at least 1/4 inch shorter than that. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut that down a little bit more and see how that looks. No battle plans last past the initial contact or something like that. So I had taken the cardboard model and altered it just a little bit, made it just a couple inches wider because the space existed in there. And right now the heights are a little bit higher so that I can scribe it and trim it down to fit. And the plan was to have some bins underneath, and then we'd hang all the clothes down, and it could hold about 50 pieces in there. And then we'd have these little bins for small items, socks, underwear, things like that. And we've got enough space in here to hold at least a few weeks worth of clothes for the two of us. And this is kind of how our travel trailer was set up with its little closet. It was a Trailmanor, a 27, I'd have to look it up. Anyway, the closet was deep enough to have them facing this way, and I think we had 5 or 6 of them in there, and then we had a bungee over it because then the closet pulled off the counter and then laid down on its side. It was a really nice system. So I was going to kind of duplicate that with a hanging a bar here to hang clothes on, and then we'd have this storage underneath. And then the whole thing would either have to tip over in the van to get view out the window, or we'd have to take part of it off, so cut it in half and unstack it. This little mark here is how far down, if you measure, if you put a line from the mirror to the bottom of the back window, this is where it goes. So I need to take from here up off of there, or move it, or, I mean, and it could be from here, but anyway, so at least from here up, I want to have not there while we're driving. So I was trying to figure out how to accomplish that, and with the closet idea with hanging, first of all, we need to use very short hangers so it doesn't take up a lot of space. And you can buy some short hangers, but they're really not exactly what I wanted, you know, so they're shorter, but I would want a lot shorter. So I was experimenting with some of those, and then the whole idea changed. We're going to forget these storage bins in here, and forget a clothes rod in here. We're going to go with 10 by 10 by 10 cubes, the little fabric cubes of storage things that you can get. So we can get 2 of them on each shelf, because this is 20 inches wide. So we can get 2, 4, 6, 7 of them, because this one's not going to be tall enough on this corner. But we may be able to cut one down and still have 8. So that's where we're going with it. So I'm going to cut a couple more shelf pieces. So we'll move the shelf to here. So these will go away. We'll put a shelf here, here, and here. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work yet, but that's kind of the idea right now, is that we'll have this hold 7 of those fabric covered cubes for storage. And I didn't realize they made 10-inch ones, and we didn't want to make this so big that it could fit the 12-inch ones. And that's what we've had before. So we're going to cut a couple more pieces and then start getting this in the van and figure out where it's going to go and figure out how to unstack it, or to make it into 2 pieces. I can take those 3 little pieces and make it into 1 piece for a shelf that doesn't really get seen. So glue that together. There's our extra shelf without having to do another piece. So I'm going to replace this one with this one, because the bottom one will basically never have any real stresses on it, because it will be attached to the van and then the things put in it. The ones up here will have stuff, you know, weight pushing down on it that's not supported by the van. So this one's pretty strong, but I can make sure that it's never a problem simply by using it for that bottom spot. And so that's what I'm going to do. I need to trim it just a bit, it feels like. So we'll get those taken care of. So I'm just going to smooth that enough just to get rid of the bad cutting from the previous cut. Okay, that barely touches that, just to clean up those junctions. So we'll get this dismantled. We need to leave 10 inches inside here, and then the next shelf, 1/2 inch, and then 10 more inches, 1/2 inch, and then that's where we'll cut it. And then we'll have the next shelf there. So we'll have it doubled up in the middle. That way, for taking it apart, everything should be very strong. So I need 20, 21 and a half. Is there any reason to make it bigger? Nope. I'm going to assume that the 10-inch ones are going to fit, or we'll cram them in there. So make sure I mark which side of this line to cut on. Okay, we'll get that dismantled and we can get them cut. And then we can start assembling it, not for the final time, but we'll get it assembled. So if I hadn't been planning to take this apart anyway, before I do the final assemblage, I could have just left it as a box and cut it on the table saw on the 3 faces. But I need to take this apart anyway so I can sand the areas where it has finish so that when I glue it together it'll actually adhere to it, because the glue doesn't stick very well to the finish. Now we can reassemble them. So we'll start with that bottom box portion and then get the top. And then this one is going to become the new bottom piece to replace that one. Because I think it's going to be pretty strong. It's got biscuits, it's got glue, but it's not like it's finger jointed. If this was finger jointed together, then I would trust it to be pretty close to as strong as a full sheet. But it doesn't have finger joints, so I'm not going to trust it to be as strong. So instead, I'm going to use it for the bottom, which is sitting on the floor of the van, so it doesn't really have to hold that much. You know, it's not like it's being forced down or anything like the other ones could be. Leave this as the front edge, and this is the back. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with how that came out. You can clean off the extra glue. And like I said before, where it has finish on, the glue doesn't really stick, so it just pops right off. So I'm just basically using this piece of ply as a scraper. And it just knocks all the glue off. And that's why I have to sand it on the places that I want to glue the faces together. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, so I need to sand off the finish on those areas because that's where it'll mate up with these other surfaces for gluing. So let me get these sanded and then we'll come back. So we got those sanded where the shelves are going to be, the top, the bottom, the intermediate one. So now we can start putting it back together. But I need to get all these pieces assembled so I can get the middle shelves drilled at the exact right spots. So that will probably be assembled and disassembled a few more times. Next, I can use these holes that were from the bottom and put on the new bottom. So I can line that up. In lieu of clamps, we'll just tape it just to hold it snug and flat. Feels pretty good. So I can start a screw in there. just want to start that in there to make sure it can't shift now. Okay, get another screw in there. Just snug that up just a bit so that I can get these other ones without any danger of things moving. I want to make sure it's nice and flush. Okay, this one is. Now this one, oh, that looks good. That's flush also. Good, good. All right, now I can take those screws back out, glue the one side, and put it back in. Okay, little extra glue. That'll certainly put those pieces together. We'll come back when this is kind of together. So it's just a matter of lining it up, drilling the holes, screwing it together, gluing it together, and we'll have a box. We'll come back. So here's where we're at right now. I got that shelf unit kind of built. I've got to still work on it a little bit, and the little cloth bin things won't be here for a couple more days, so I can't actually test it out. And I still have to make the mechanism to help unstack it, but that'll be coming up soon. Let's see it from the back. I've got this platform installed now, and it still needs some strengthening supports under this edge and this edge, because the plan will be that this will have a decent amount of weight on it. This will be the cooler or refrigerator or whatever. I want it strong enough to stand on. And it has a support leg underneath, so that piece will support that side very well. That side has those pieces that we put on earlier, saw that. I don't really know if that's stout enough. I think it is, as long as I support this so that it can't bow down and put pressure on the edge so that the pressure stays straight down. Then I think it's fine. And then we'll also add a stiffener back there. The shelf piece looks good. I need to finish cutting that top edge. So it needs to be scribed a little bit better. I've got a line up there to cut too. I'll do that, and then it'll have a little bit of a gap up there, and that's what we want. And then let's get the hatches cut in there so we can get into that storage space. I need to cut a little bit more of that area, and then I can straighten out this piece. I want to be able to lift this top unit off and set it down in front of it for travel. That way we can see out the window real well anytime we're moving. So the rest of it looks pretty good. Looks like we've got good clearance. but to come up and over there, I want to move a little bit more, remove a little bit more from that light area. And we definitely have room for 7 of the little cubbies. We can't get the 8th one in because this side's going to be too low, but I'm real sure we can get one in there. I'm not sure if we're going to, because we might just go with some kind of netting across the front or bungees and then put bigger items up there, lighter, bigger items. And of course, as we load it, we want the heaviest stuff on the bottom and then lighter stuff on the top. Now I'm finally happy with the way the shelf fits in there. Well, I think one of the next orders of business is to get hatches put into these spaces. So these upper portions and the lower portions are going to get hatches for access, because this is a good portion of our storage, at least for interior of the van. Well, we have the car top carrier, but we want to have as much stuff as possible inside the van. So we decided to go with this spacing. I don't know if I already showed that or not, but we're going with 6 inches on each side, which leaves a 8 by 12 hole in the middle of each one of them. So we decided to go with a rectangle. Won't have to worry about it. The back portions will be easier to add strips to it for this to rest against. A circle, I'd have to figure out a way to put a circular thing in there, or have to go across it in a bunch of places. Anyway, it'd just be more difficult, I think. This, I think, will be easier, and it'll give us good access, and it should be pretty strong. So I cut out a cardboard template and drew them on there, and just simply holding it snug, lining it up the place I want it, and then going around the whole edge, and we get the outline. So now I can cut those. This one, these bottom ones could be a little bit tricky. I'll have to measure that. Have to measure the blade, make sure it's not going to come down and hit the bottom board. That still leaves me about 3/4 of an inch down there. Now I'm going to have to drill holes to get that in there. So I just need enough to get that sawed bit in. I'm going to try that little drill bit and just drill 2 or 3 holes in a row, enough to get that blade in. And then I can get it started and then switch to this bigger blade. So just drill a few holes right on that line and see if I can do it. Let's get close to that one. So I'll try to cut right along the outside of the line to give myself that full opening. I don't know if this is the right way. Wonder if that's big enough for this one. Oh, that's big enough for this one to start with. I should probably have tested it on something. Let's get the hearing protection. That is going to be work. Okay, we'll get the other ones. I didn't do a very good cut on that. Don't tell anybody. So adding the groove here for the hinge for the little piece headrest area, kind of the extension of the bed. I think for this video, I'm at a good stopping point. So I've got this piece attached. We just saw this being routed out for. And I've got some 3/4 by 3/4 oak cut from some scrap 1x2s or 1x3s, I think, that I had in the past. So plan on having these underneath the board, and they'll come out to this far and support this piece. So it will be underneath here, sticking through. So it'll be able to just be pulled out, and this will be resting on it. And we'll put 4 of those under there. So we'll have them here, here, and the same thing on the other side. But as I said, this is a good stopping point for this video. And then on the next video, we'll show putting all the hatches in with the aluminum pieces underneath that I got. So they're all being supported by a 1" by 1/8" thick aluminum around the edge. So that'll be next time. Thanks for watching and following along.